Hi, boys and girls. This lesson is about bearded dragons when they're ill or a sick bearded dragon. Unfortunately, one of the most common illnesses that you find in a bearded dragon is metabolic bone disease, or it's MBD for short. And this is caused by not using a UVB bulb in the tank, or not having your dragon have some sunlight and some time in the sun outside. Lots of people don't add the UVB light, or they use one that's not strong enough because it's cheaper. You also need to look at the food that you're feeding your dragon. If you have something that you're feeding your dragon that isn't high in calcium, then you should dust it with the calcium powder. So basically, this is a disease where your bearded dragon is not getting enough calcium, either due to his diet, he's not getting enough in his diet calcium, or he doesn't have exposure to sunlight, which means he can't use the calcium. And this is the most common, and it's the most preventable disease that a bearded dragon could have. Respiratory illness. This is another one that's common, especially if you have a bearded dragon and there is just it's not hot enough in there. This can happen during the winter time when it gets a little bit colder. You need to check your bearded dragon's temperatures and make sure you use a really accurate thermometer in there. You also need a good humidity gauge, because if there's too much humidity, that's another reason why a bearded dragon will get a respiratory illness. And so some things that you would want to look out for are if you see mucus in the nose or in the mouth, if your bearded dragon is making some wheezing or popping sounds, or if they're sneezing or snorting. These are all signs of respiratory illness, because your bearded dragon really needs to have some very dry, hot conditions. They're a desert species. So if you see your bearded dragon with these symptoms, you should definitely see a vet for this illness, because bearded dragons can get very sick and die from this. You really need a vet to help you with this problem. Impaction. That's another thing that you could avoid. So impaction is when a bearded dragon cannot go to the bathroom because they ate something, either some food or something in their tank that was too large. Maybe they swallowed something in their tank, like sand or a bark chip, which is not supposed to be in the tank. Remember, if you have a bearded dragon, they need to have not loose things on the bottom of their tank. Like they would need like carpet or tile or newspaper or something that they could live on, that they wouldn't accidentally eat. Also, be careful when you're feeding your bearded dragon insects, and make sure that the insect is not bigger than the space between their eyes. You can see the little the arrows right here, right there. You see that? No food should be bigger than that. If you feed your bearded dragon something that's larger than that space, then your bearded dragon is in danger of becoming impacted. So if your bearded dragon can't go to the potty, you can try some things. You can try to give your bearded dragon a bath. That might help him go. If you feed him some olive oil or some applesauce, that might help them to go. If those things fail, then you would need to see a vet who could help your bearded dragon. Because if your bearded dragon cannot go to the bathroom, yes, it's going to be in big trouble, and it's going to be serious and probably going to die. Oh, internal parasites. Okay, bearded dragons, they're very often in trouble. They're by these tiny bugs that invade their bodies and give them diarrhea or stomach problems. You can't see these things. You have to use a microscope to see them. But you'll be able to tell that your bearded dragon is suffering from internal parasites by some symptoms. So if your bearded dragon has some poo that looks watery or loose or has a weird color, then you can take a sample of that poo and send it to a vet, and a vet will test it to see if your bearded dragon is being troubled by some parasites, those tiny bugs you can't see, and then prescribe some medicine that will help your bearded dragon get better. Parasites can really cause trouble in your bearded dragon because remember what I said about the calcium. If your bearded dragon is always having loose poo, then they're not absorbing a lot of the calcium, and then that's going to cause, your metabolic disease problem, which you do not want to have. So that's how you settle that one. And also you need to really make sure that you keep your bearded dragon's tank very clean if your bearded dragon is suffering from parasites, because they will live inside the tank even after your beardie has had medicine to treat it. So you'll have to make sure that everything is really, really clean in there. Okay, not only can they suffer from internal, but external parasites can bother your bearded dragon as well. Now these are bugs, and you'll be able to see these bugs, but they're tiny bugs that would crawl on their skin, and they would bite them, and they feed on their bodies. And so if you look at this picture, you'll see those little tiny black things here, and you can see the red spots right here, and that was where these external bugs have been feeding on this poor bearded dragon and biting its skin and making it bleed. And these are really not fun. Again, you will definitely need something to kill the parasites, and you will have to make sure that you keep that tank sparkling clean. And you're going to have to give your bearded dragon lots of baths to get rid of those. Some things to kill the bugs in the tank. They're really not pleasant to get rid of. It's going to be a lot of cleaning and a lot of effort to get rid of those. This one's pretty sad too. This is mouth rot. You can see this poor, it looks like a baby beardie has mouth rot right here. This is from either they injured themselves, if they maybe slammed their body into something or fell, or they didn't have enough heat, or they didn't have a good diet, or they had too much humidity. They can get mouth rot. So this is most definitely a vet issue that you would need to take your bearded dragon to the vet in order to treat this. There's really nothing that you can do to treat this once they have it. However, you can prevent it by simply making sure that you have the right temperature, a clean cage, and not too much humidity, and a good diet. And remember that UVB, they need sunlight. So if you're taking very good care of your bearded dragon, you should not have a problem with mouth rot. Tail rot. Now that can happen sometimes. It's not something that you necessarily did, but what it is every so often your bearded dragon is going to shed its skin. And sometimes, like on tiny parts of their body, like their fingers or their tail, the skin doesn't shed off. And when it doesn't shed off, then it'll stay on, and then it'll just basically cause the tail to rot because the skin, the old skin is too small, and it hasn't broken off to let the new skin underneath grow, and so then it causes rotting. So you have to be really observant and watch your bearded dragon when they're shedding to make sure that that any of that skin that hasn't shed off comes off. Now, I told you not to pick at it, but you could get some, you can give your beardy a bath, and that might help take it off, or you can rub some mineral oil on that spot, and that should loosen it up and get it off as well. But if you're not really watching your bearded dragon, you may not notice it, and then you will have to deal with the tail rot, and that can be really bad. If it keeps going all the way up your beardy's tail, then you will have to go to a vet, and possibly they might take that part of the tail off so that your bearded dragon doesn't die. Yellow fungus. This is the most deadly disease out there. The yellow fungus, if it's not clean in there, I keep telling you about cleaning and good care. If the tank is the temperatures are too low, or the tank isn't clean, then yellow fungus can develop in your beardy, and the prognosis for this, which means basically your bearded dragon is in trouble and may not live very long if it gets yellow fungus. You have no choice but to see a vet in order to help treat this disease. Many people whose bearded dragons suffer from this, their bearded dragons usually die very quickly from this. Very, very few people have had a vet successfully treat their bearded dragon from the yellow fungus. Many times it just comes back, and it's really hard to get rid of. So if you had a bearded dragon in a tank and that bearded dragon got yellow fungus, basically you don't want to use that tank until you're sure that there's no trace of yellow fungus in it. So avoid using a tank that had an animal in it that had yellow fungus, because it's deadly. Okay, this is a video of me taking my bearded dragons out to get some sun. What you're doing? Hi, big boy, you're outside. Oh, let me get out of your sun. Get out of your sunlight. There you go. Okay, let's see how she's doing. There she goes. What are you doing? Berries! What are you doing? Where'd you go? Oh, right there. Look at you. Ah, you're in your sun, huh? Good job. Get in the sun. Okay. Oh, yeah. Good girl. So the reason I took them out is because, like I said, I don't want them to get metabolic bone disease. And I put them in this like clothes hamper so that they can get the sun but not run away and escape. So these hampers zip up, and I can just put them right outside and they can get the sun, and that's really healthy and good for them. Anytime you can take your bearded dragon out to the sun, that is the best. So I try to take them out regularly, even though they do have their UVB bulbs. Like I said, real sun is best for them, and I'm trying very hard to keep them super healthy, and that's one way to do it. So as you can see, I think you're getting the sense now that it's not so easy to have a bearded dragon. It takes a lot of work and a lot of special care. So I don't think that this is the pet for the average person. There's a lot to it and a lot to know. Probably most of us just would do better with just a regular dog or cat. So okay, well, that's it for now. I will come back soon. Bye.